I talked through this idea in class, but we didn't do this application exercise. But I thought it would be useful to show you the thinking behind this one and the kinds of familiarity with supply and demand analysis and the connection with elasticity. So this one asks us, markets for agricultural products like hazelnuts, wheat, tomatoes tend to feature a great deal of price volatility. Which of the following reasons best accounts for that observation? And basically, both demand and supply in such markets are highly inelastic. Both demand and supply are highly elastic. Demand in such markets is highly inelastic. Supply is highly inelastic. So we're looking for what could best explain price volatility. Let's just draw some cases here and think about it. Let's first just draw the case where demand and supply are really price elastic. Both demand and supply respond quite a bit to price changes. Well, then we've got a flat demand curve. We've got a flat supply curve, relatively speaking. Let's just think what an event affecting this market is going to do to price. Let's suppose this is the market for, I don't know, let's say it's the market for flip phones. So, I don't know, does anybody use one of those anymore? Let's say that they became really popular because people want to cut themselves off from all the wonderful things a smartphone can do to them. For them, it's just wasting too much time. In that case, the demand for these flip phones goes up. Notice what happens. This event causes the quantity sold to go up by a lot, but price not to change by very much. So that it turns out, I'll let you do the case for elastic demand and elastic supply. Turns out when one or both of these functions is highly elastic, either buyers or sellers are quite responsive to changes in price, we tend to get a big quantity effect, but not much of a price effect with these events. However, it's very different if both functions are price inelastic. In that case, if both the demand curve and the supply curve are price inelastic, and foodstuffs certainly fill this bill, so does oil, as I mentioned. In that case, we'll just have our base case. This will be wheat markets. So people tend to buy the same amount of wheat for their diet, for their consumption, regardless of pretty big price swings. Farmers, once the wheat's in the ground, it's hard to change your crop until the next year comes around. So let's think about an event. Let's do another demand event. Somebody reads that eating a lot of wheat makes you smarter, whatever. In that case, demand rises, but because the inelasticity, price inelasticity of the supply curve, quantity doesn't respond very much, but price really jumps. And you can do the same for what if there was a bumper crop that really depresses prices, a drought that really jacks prices really high. The price is jumping around by a lot as events happen in such a market. Indeed, this is one of the reasons the government stepped in and gave out insurance to keep farmers in business. A, the farmers have political pull, but B, also it's important to keep a healthy farm sector for the ability to to produce the food that our country eats in large measure inside the borders of the country instead of out. That's part of the argument. That's if we had close allies supplying us food, the risk of being dependent on those allies is pretty small. But anyway, that's the argument you hear.